Hey everybody, it's me, Angel Benton. It is time for another edition of Angel Sudsy Recap, where we delve into the world of daytime television, and we do a few reality shows on the side for now. And one of those reality shows that we're doing is Vanderpump Rules. But before we get into Vanderpump Rules, so last night I took pole dancing class, and we had I took pole dancing for an hour, and then I took stretch for an hour. And the stretch class, we mostly focused on hip openers. Now, that's the one thing don't get me wrong, I still did all of the stretches, but my hips are pretty open just because of the years of ballet training where they train you to turn out. So my hips are already wide open. In fact, I have the opposite problem. Like when I'm taking yoga class and they're like, we need you to turn in and square your hips, that's hard. Right? But in this case, it really wasn't. But we were doing a lot of exercises where we had to utilize our core. And I woke up this morning and it wasn't actually my abs that were hurting. It was my lower back. Because that's the part of my core, which is actually, everyone always assumes that you're talking about your abs, but I was actually working my lower back in those exercises. So it was pretty cool. That was cool. And then tonight I went to a corporate function with the Project Management Institute, and it was pretty eye-opening. It was really cool. I might talk about that a little bit in my Japanese episode, maybe. So we'll see how that goes. Anyways, so let's talk about reality shows, and let's talk about Vanderpump Rules, which is being considered for an Emmy. I still can't believe that. That's fantastic. That's just so great. Okay, so there's this thing going on Twitter. First of all, the story came out in March, so it's not like it's new, but it's given a second life on Twitter. I think because Jax retweeted it, and it was a story about him and Brittany doing drugs in the bathroom, but it was a vape pen for CBD oil. Now, in both the states of California and Nevada, that's legal. You can do that, so I don't necessarily know, where they were trying to make it out to be a little bit more salacious than it actually was, which I'm so shocked by that. Okay, what the, had a hair, it's crazy. Okay, so Vanderpump Rules. Now, you know how I was talking about the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and how they, kind of stretch out their reunions, and they really only need to really be 2 episodes, and they always make those certain ones. Well, Vanderpump Rules, this is the exception to the rule, because this episode, I don't know, because normally, it's those middle episodes that it's like last year's Vanderpump Rules reunion, they could have done without that second episode. But this year, it actually was good, because we got a lot of information this year. So first of all, we talked about at the end of last week's episode, Sheena had stormed off because, Jack said, you didn't even call me when my father died, some friend you are. And she got all offended. And she's like, I just need a minute. And then she walked away, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I just thought that was so melodramatic. Like, okay. All right. So this time we spoke a little bit, we talked a little bit to Lisa, and Lisa was basically telling us, because Andy asked, how are things at Tom Tom? Are you having a hard time? And Tom Sandoval was like, because Lisa Vanderpump, her point is, if you have a total of 10% of the business, you don't get to make 90% of the decisions. I make 90% of the decisions. You have to deal with those 90% of the decisions, When there's an area of your expertise that I'm going to ask you about, then I will listen to that feedback. Otherwise, it's not welcome. And I think the reason why, I'm sorry, I'm trying to my arms are really tired from pole dancing class yesterday too, and I'm having a hard time holding the camera up. I should, you know what? I need to set up that tripod. I've got it. I'm going to set it up. Okay. So moving on. Sorry. So they had asked Tom, if he's having a hard time. Schwartzy is not. He's like, yeah, whatever. And Tom Sandoval was like, I'm having a hard time. Well, at least he's honest, right? He's like, yeah, it's a little bit difficult when I don't agree with like some of the decor decisions, So that, to me, that's a little bit superficial. You know what I'm saying? Like, decor changes. You could change it. Like, nothing is like, unless you care about the actual physical structure of the building and you're going to fight with Lisa over that, then I really wouldn't worry too much about it. If it's really that bad, then she'll change it. She's a smart businesswoman who's been in business with restaurants for years. She knows what she's doing. So we got to talk to Katie, and Lisa was talking about how proud she was of Katie and how wonderful it was that Katie told her story about falling through the plate. Okay, so my friend John's a little bit hateful, and he was like, okay, so Katie, I'm sure, was probably drinking, and her friends thought it would be great to go up to the roof of this building, and she sat on the edge of this skylight, and then the skylight crashed, and she fell down like 25 feet and had to have her face broken and have to have it restitched together, and that's why she doesn't ever want to get rid of that scar, because she always wants to remember that, which is, actually, that's fierce. But of course, John is like, oh my God, I would never tell that on television, that, my fat ass broke a skylight. I'm like, bitch, she was opening up, sharing a vulnerable moment with the audience, and you are really going to sit there and say that? Ugh. Shaking my damn head. Anyways. But yeah, Lisa said she was very proud of Katie and the way that she's surprised that it took her this long to talk about it. And she's like, I'm not ashamed of it, but it's not my be all and end all. It's not my whole existence. It does not revolve around that accident. But I brought it up at the time that I thought it was appropriate. You know what they haven't asked about, which maybe they haven't asked about it, maybe they will on the third episode. But Andy didn't ask her about Kevin Lee. Because remember how Kevin Lee basically said, oh, you really need to lose weight. And she was like so offended. And she told Lisa. And Lisa, I think Lisa was pissed. And I think Lisa must give Kevin Lee quite a bit of business. And so he felt the need to come back and apologize to Katie with flowers. And she says, I appreciate the apology. Thank you. Just don't do it again. And whether she really accepted the apology, who knows? But I don't know if I would either, because it's kind of obvious because he did it in front of Lisa and he did it on camera. So it's like, okay. You know what I'm saying? But maybe I'm just a jaded, cynical bitch and I need to just fucking relax. You know what I have to say? So at this professional mixer that I did tonight, I was a little bit nervous about speaking, not so much about anything in general, but just those canned interview questions, because we were practicing interviewing, and one of the questions was, what are your strengths? And I had an answer for that one. That was not, I'm used to that one. They had a question, they were saying, how do you keep yourself marketable? And, normally I would have either stuttered or I would have had long pauses. But this time I actually was able to continue to speak as elaborately and eloquently as I possibly could. And I owe a lot of that to this show. You know what I'm saying? Because I actually just sit here and talk to my phone every single night for 10 minutes at least. And that's kind of how it works. And so I was able to get my point across, Now, did I meander a little bit in there? A little bit. you know, and I think a lot of that too is that I wasn't quite sure where I wanted to go, but I ended up bringing it back around, and they told me that too. They were like, hey, there was a couple of times when it looked like you were going off in the wrong direction, but then you brought it back, and I was like, that's kind of what happened. Anyways, thank you so much for logging on today. I do appreciate it. Please feel free to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at Angel Benton. You can hashtag Pump Rules to talk about Vanderpump Rules. You can also hashtag Drag Race or RPDR to talk RuPaul's Drag Race, which I'm doing next. And you can hit that subscribe button on my YouTube channel and give this video a thumbs up for my, just so that I can get some thumbs up. Anybody? Is anybody out there? Okay, anyways, thanks for logging on today. Have a great day. Peace out. Wubba, wubba, wubba.